I have to admit, I'm a total novice in the Sonic universe. The truth is, I've only played one of his video games from start to finish, to be exact. That was Sonic Generations on the Nintendo 3 dual screen version, which was also my first game on that console. I don't know why I made the decision for that to be my first 3 dual screen game, considering I wasn't a fan of the franchise, and that on top of that, on that console, I only bought Pokemon games apart from the Sonic one. But knowing me, the truth is that even though I don't remember the reason, I'm not surprised. When I was a kid and my parents bought me my brand new and beloved silver PlayStation 2 Slim, they gave me a choice between 2 video games to debut the console. Wow. The first was a Mega Man, which if I remember correctly was Mega Man X7, a game that we can consider suitable for a child who at that time should have been about 7 years old. The second option was a super random Indiana Jones game called Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, a video game for which a Pokemon kid like me was clearly neither the goal nor the target. Well, you can imagine my decision, and yes, the game was crap, but do you want to know what is good, God? That finally Opera GX has decided to sponsor this channel. My God, yes, let's go. As someone who has been doing a lot of streams lately, I've learned several things, and one of the most important is that no matter what I do, even if I'm just watching chill videos, my browser will be using more resources than any AAA game I could have tried. I look like the multimedia messaging service of One Piece's Chopper crying in a corner while my PC is abused by that browser. My PC was like Goku locked in the time room, or rather locked in the usual browser, but everything changed with Opera GX, the sponsor of this video, which even has the colors of Shadow the Hedgehog. It's all references, guys. It's in the stars. Opera GX is one of the best browsers you can find on the market currently, with one of the levels of customization that will make you wish you had installed it before. To start, Opera GX gives you total control over the resources that your PC will use, like RAM or even bandwidth, so you won't have to worry about your computer doing like Majin Buu in Plan O. Opera GX offers extensive customization, allowing you to personalize even the tiniest aesthetic details for the most visually appealing and unique experience. You can customize interface icons, add animated backgrounds, and include sounds when opening or closing tabs. You can even add background music while browsing, such as the Attack on Titan original soundtrack. While exploring white rice recipes, an intriguing feature is the keyboard sound function, with which you can turn your $3 keyboard into a $1,000 one with just a couple of clicks. There you can hear the sound of the keys. With Opera GX's extensive customization options, you could easily spend hours exploring its endless possibilities. You're going to feel like the David of Cyberpunk customizing your browser. Now all that's missing is a crazy albino to ruin lives, but that's not included with the browser. And since we're talking about anime, I also wanted to let you know that Opera GX has a very interesting feature, the pop-up window. Visit your favorite anime site like Netflix or Crunchyroll and easily watch your desired anime anywhere on your screen with a cute kawaii window. Remember, you can quickly import the most important data from your old browser to Opera GX with just a few clicks. Don't wait any longer. Download Opera GX from the link that will be appearing on your screen in the description and in the pinned comment. It's totally free, so don't wait any longer. And between you and me, since almost all of us read mangas on dubious websites, their ad blocker is the best. Many thanks to Opera GX, and now let's continue. Returning to the topic after finally getting this sponsor, what I wanted to say in the end is that I have no experience with Sonic, but I must say that it has always seemed like a very appealing franchise to me. One that I've never gotten into because every time I try to, everyone tries to stop me, as if I were about to drop a third atomic bomb on Japan, like Kaio-sama every time Goku did something. The annoying one was the little bastard. Apparently they say he has a really messed up fandom, and it could be, but at this point I don't give a damn about that. I will mention this movie Trilogy and the YouTuber Sergi who discusses Sonic. They have made my interest grow so much that I'm officially going to get into Sonic games. I'll probably start with Sonic Unleashed because it's a beast like me. My voice is still not very good, as you can see. You can leave your recommendations in the comments, as you can imagine. From my perspective, the movies were fantastic, and the third one is now my favorite. I loved it completely. Expect a predictable review where I praise everything about it, or nearly everything, as a couple of things were either confusing or seemed odd to me. But primarily, it's because I don't know much about this franchise, so let's finally discuss this movie. Before we begin, here's a riddle. Do you know how the Knuckles series is relevant to this movie? True, nothing else. But tell me, what other series feature Kendo as part of their canon? Coming soon on Renan's Spanish channel, the latest song. Oh! Now let's start with the work of art. We are on Prison Island, where the Black Hedgehog, also known as Shadow, is held captive. Interestingly, Prison Island is a canonical place in Sonic games, more specifically in Sonic Adventure 2. Yes, I saw it on Google. A game which will receive many references from now on, since it was the origin game of Shadow and practically the whole movie is based on it, in quotes. So well, you can imagine it. The guards were there chilling, watching over the ultimate life form that had been asleep for 50 long years until they were suddenly mysteriously hacked by someone very mysterious who would not reveal their characteristic logo in the middle of the hack. Although honestly, this is ridiculously faithful to the game. Literally fucking Eggman made a Death Star with his face, mustache and all. So, as I was saying, the biological weapon that had been completely asleep for 50 years gives small indications that it might wake up. So many soldiers are ready to surround the subject in case he actually wakes up, which I like because they make it quite clear in the first few minutes that this character is very dangerous, especially for those wholesome cinema goers who don't know the context. And while at first it seems that our buddy Shadows won't wake up, he actually does. There's no way he wasn't going to wake up. Literally, the movie is about that. If he hadn't, it would have lasted like 2 minutes. Ending up eating all the soldiers in seconds, demonstrating tremendous superiority, and finally escaping from prison to do who knows what. Look at him, skating on water like the edgy he is. Look at him. His skating movement is impressive, like in video games. It's unrelated, but it makes for a great intro. In under 3 minutes, the main antagonist is introduced along with his abilities and the threat he poses. In addition, and I also love that they do it by showing samples of his power, because I'm already fed up with that shit that they don't respect one of the most important rules of cinema, you know, show don't tell. So I'm glad they've shown us the danger it represents. Shadow, instead of throwing us a wall of text about how strong he is after showing us the title of the movie whose logo I've liked a lot since I saw it, referencing again to Sonic Adventure 2, we switched to Sonic and Company's perspective, where Sonic, Tails and the Flames of Disaster compete in a race, which surprises me that Tails and Knuckle match Sonic so much, and I don't know much about Sonic as I've already said in the introduction, but the power scaling of these movies is a bit strange. We'll discuss that later. I don't recall the second movie well, but these two were incredibly fast. They have their tricks. However, all that racing was to distract and to give Sonic a surprise that they were really there to celebrate the Hedgehog's anniversary on Earth, which I find quite sweet as these two are basically like father and son. And I want to ask a question to see if you can answer it in the comments, and it's about the personality of both Sonic and the rest of the characters, of furries or aliens as you want to call it. I mean, I like them, I love their personalities, but they've always been so childish. You can tell they are very innocent kind. They have, I don't know, a bit of a childlike personality, right? In a good way, they've always had this personality, or have they ever shown to have a more adult personality? I don't know. As I said, as a novice, I have no idea, but both Knuckles, Tails, Sonic, and even Shadow really, because even though he's edgy, he behaves like a vengeful child, and that's it. So that's my question. Have they always been like this, or is it more of a thing from the movies? The guys were chilling until a gang helicopter suddenly appeared asking for help. Shadow had arrived in Tokyo and discovered he had been asleep for 50 years. The computer-generated imagery characters, especially Shadow and his hair, look incredible in the rain. All the computer-generated imagery characters are visually stunning. There are shots where they focus on the gloves and they look incredibly real. I love it. The point is that Sonic and company decide to travel to the country of the virgin otakus to stop him. And all they find is a lot of destruction in their path. And there he is, the Black Hedgehog, the Shadow. I love the detail that Sonic makes reference to the fact that, well, Shadow copied him. The latter tells him Sonic copied him. After a brief chat and Knuckles asking for trouble, it's amusing. They begin fighting, as shown in the trailers. Shadow eliminates them all, reminiscent of his intro in Shadow the Hedgehog, where he defeats Sonic. He then mounts his motorcycle armed with a gun. I'm shocked by Shadow's immense strength. I'm unsure if it's due to the surprise factor or something else. I don't know. Shouldn't Knuckles have more physical strength, not counting the speed? I don't know much about Sonic, but the biggest power scaling problem comes later when Shadow leaves on his motorcycle. Sonic, being a sore loser, starts chasing him without help. I didn't remember the chases in the other two movies being so good, even making a reference to Akira. But what movie with the motorcycle doesn't want to reference Akira? In the end, Sonic and Shadow clash, with Sonic faring worse. As a team, they decide to regroup. They visit a Chaos Garden, with Tails subtly promoting it, saying, "Hey, come to Tokyo, this place is wonderful. I'm sure nothing can go wrong here." Meanwhile, the guys who spent more time raising chaos than playing the damn game, but moments later a scene happened that left me totally amazed. Some kids approach Tails asking if he's the detective Pikachu. Knuckles remarks that Tails does resemble a Pokemon. I was completely astonished in the movie theater. Watching that scene, like, no way, they know something that I know. Oh my god, anyway. And I also thought, can they legally say that? I guess so. References are legal, right? As far as I know, by the way, when the commander appears, am I the only one who finds it super cursed to the image of a military man talking with 3 Sonic live-action characters in the middle of a Japanese children's restaurant? But well, it has flow. The thing is that the commander tells the origin story of Shadow A being that came through a meteorite to Earth and whose speed could provide almost unlimited energy, but the power that the creature emanated was such that it triggered the death of many people. Thus, the lead scientist who experimented with Shadow was imprisoned for all the damage and deaths he caused. But what could they do with Shadow? He was too powerful and valuable to be left free or eliminated, so they decided to put him to sleep until a better idea emerged. They put him in the freezer. The most critical fans watched as Shadow's origin was not mentioned at all to Black Doom or Maria's disease, but right after telling that, Dr. Eggman's robots appear to try to finish off Sonic and company in the Chaos Garden, which is quite murky because they are shooting at a damn children's place with children inside. Essence, this is essential. However, a mysterious motorcyclist appears and destroys Eggman's robots, but sadly the commander dies. Not before handing a keycard to Sonic. Gun's appearance complicates matters as they seem to blame Sonic, preventing access to one of their most powerful weapons. Tails and Knuckles not only for the death of the commander, they must also escape for stealing the key given to them, but first they chase the mysterious motorcycle man who saved them earlier, who turns out to be none other than Agent Stone, also known as Dr. Eggman's ultimate simp. On Twitter, he reveals that the latter is alive and takes Sonic and the others to see him. A brief moment of appreciation for Jim Carrey's portrayal of Eggman, each time being more faithful to the original aspect of the character. Though he may not have looked the part, Jim Carrey delivered the best portrayal of Eggman we could have hoped for. Eggman is clearly affected by the fact that his most faithful agent, Stone, brought his worst foes to his hideout. Stone discovered that someone has been pilfering Eggman's tech and that individual used it to rouse Shadow. As he himself said, the last thing we want is more hedgehogs around. So, Eggman himself tracks down the imposter and the protagonists have no other option more than working with this fat guy. Thus, after giving one of the blue hairs to Robotnik's fetishist, the latter shaves and everything to finally get back into action. Me after watching 2 TikToks on exercise and motivation. But while the fat bald guy tries to fit his huge belly into his suit, we must see a little bit of tragic past. And not just any tragic past, I'm talking about that tragic past that all Sonic fans praise and idolize like crazy kids, even though it involves the murder of a girl. Yes, Shadow has returned to his old home now completely destroyed, consumed by the ashes of the past, however remembering that girl who served as his only company. The chief scientist's granddaughter was Shadow's only connection between the research lab and a normal life. When everyone saw him as a weapon of mass destruction, Maria simply saw him as a friend. When he questioned where he came from, what his home was, Maria told him that the Earth was his home. But tragedy would soon arrive, as Shadow himself said. He wouldn't know what to do without you. It is then that Sonic, Eggman, and company arrive at the place where the stolen egg weapons are located. But first, I did find it funny, that little moment when Knuckles was scared shitless watching the Casper movie. I love you, Knuckles, how cute, beautiful, and perfect you are. Second, the moment when Tails tells Stone that he and Sonic are friends just like Stone and Eggman was both adorable and sad. It made Stone question if he and Robotnik are truly friends. Shadow captures them all, while Robotnik meets with the scientist responsible for Shadow's research, the scientist who was arrested after the lab literally exploded, Gerald Robotnik, who looks suspiciously similar to Eggman, almost as if both were played by Jim Carrey, although it would be very strange if they referenced that fact in the movie itself because it would break the fourth wall. Wait, they do. And after a session of quite complex questions to prove that Gerald is just as or even more intelligent than Eggman, the latter asks him what the hell he's been doing for the last 50 years. In which poor Dr. Egg was all alone. Confessing that he was in prison for the aforementioned, Sonic fans knowing what really happened to Gerard in the games. But anyway, now that my buddy finally has a living blood relative with whom he doesn't feel alone, the alliance with the Blue Hedgehog is annulled, so the 2 Robotniks, Stone and Shadow, withdraw, leaving our protagonists chained in the ruins of the old laboratory. However, they weren't going to leave them there alone either, as Shadow pulls out of his ass a gadget that can generate a black hole, if not for the Blue Hedgehog's incredible luck. to throw a teleporting ring in the exact position where they were going to fall. The three would have been swept away. Look at that crap. They literally disintegrated a mountain. Hey, look at Sonic's human friends. They have less and less participation in the saga. Curious. And now, what the hell is going to happen? Well, it turns out that Geralt traded his freedom with Gan in exchange for specific plans. An old man needs 2 keys to activate a super weapon in space capable of destroying any target, and thus destroy GUN's own headquarters. One of these keys was stolen from Sonic because he decided to carry it with him all the time after the commander gave it to him before he died. The other is in GUN's headquarters. Luckily for the protagonist, Gerald is an old school villain. He revealed his entire plan aloud. Now the Sonic Papus must infiltrate Gun's headquarters. Before Eggman and company. By the way, there's a very strange part here where Sonic's human friends use some hyper-realistic masks that change not only their faces but also their entire bodies. And I think there are too many applications that can be given to these objects, and each one scares me more than the last. So they infiltrate, they attempt to use a USB to allow Tails to hack a shield which has the base Sonic needs to enter. But they realized Robotnik had already inserted a USB, screwing the thing over. The two fat guys are close to obtaining the second key to the weapon. And the only test left is a hallway full of lasers. Thus, the movie gives us this beautiful dance scene between these two, demonstrating the pride the old man feels towards evil, and the little empathy his grandson has, and the grandson's happiness at finally finding a father figure, who is exactly as unhinged as he is. Filming the two Robotniks with Jim Carrey must have been incredibly tedious, requiring extensive coordination, organization, time, and effort, but the end result was excellent and made it all worthwhile. Fortunately, Sonic arrives to stop them, but he didn't arrive fast enough to prevent Gun's forces from finding them. Brief moment where Gerard is surprised not because they have been captured, but to see a woman in the army. Subtle boomer humor. And now this scene where they play with gravitational fields is quite ingenious in terms of how they decide to use it, although it all comes down to the fact that Gon's girl manages to take the key until she is intercepted by Tom, who, using the technology to change his face, imitated the deceased commander to steal the card. But just when it seemed that everything was going to go well, Shadow crosses paths with Tom, disguised as a commander, and since the Black Hedgehog had known him for a long time, he decided to hit him with all his strength to take the key, believing that he was the commander, revealing that it was indeed Tom who received the blow. And Sonic arrived just to see the equivalent of his father lying unconscious on the ground with no signs that he could wake up. But what did awaken were Shadow's memories, who had already suffered a similar loss to this one, but now he was the one who took an important person away from someone. And even though there is doubt in his gaze, he knows that the plan must continue, so Shadow goes to rescue the Robotniks and activates the weapon. A massive ship with immense destructive power is revealed. Agent Stone, injured from a near-death experience on his flooded ship, warns Eggman about his grandfather. Stone mentions world domination to Shadow, who retorts that there will be nothing left to rule. Eggman, enraged by the disrespect towards his grandfather, lashes out at Stone and blocks him. And he told him he was foolish, and while all this was happening, Sonic witnesses how his father figure might not survive, so he is consumed by revenge. Just like Shadow, and he asks Knuckles for the Master Emerald to become Supersonic, which the equipment doesn't want to do, because he made a vow that the Master Emerald would never be used for revenge. But he also swore that he would trust his companions. So he tells him that he must defeat the Protector of the Emerald to obtain it, and the Protector turns out to be that guy. I have to admit it was fun. That thing about a Guardian getting half hyped and it turns out to be this idiot, so nothing. My buddy obviously gets the Emerald without effort. He transforms into Supersonic and flies off. Meanwhile, Geralt's base is ready and... Yes, damn it, the base has a mustache. The fucking base has a fucking mustache. Yes, perfect, they did it right, my god. But while the ship is in flight, Shadow contemplates the Earth from space and wonders if this, what is about to happen, is what Maria would have really wanted. But Yaran tells him it's not about what she would have wanted, but about what is necessary, about the justice she should receive. As we can see, Shadow is quite childish, allowing himself to be easily manipulated by the Doctor's silly fallacies. Anyone with half a brain would understand that this is not the solution. But Shadow, likely having the mentality of a boy between 10 to 15 years old, he doesn't understand it well, and so he lets himself be manipulated by this Doctor who in the end is the only somewhat beloved being. Driven by anger, Shadow runs at full speed around the ship to charge it with his remaining energy. Jara then unveils his real scheme. The weapon's destructive force can reduce the planet's entire surface to ashes. But the most disturbing thing is not just the fact that Geralt wants to destroy humanity, but also He makes it clear that firing the weapon will eliminate them as well. His plan is literally to die along with the rest of the planet. He doesn't give a damn about anything. He's literally a walking gas tank, which obviously Eggman doesn't want. He's horrified. After all, he finally has a real family. And then Geralt says a very harsh phrase to him, "You are not Maria," leaving Eggman completely in shock. And now with the weapon loaded, everything will follow its course. Or at least it seemed that way until fucking Super Sonic pierces the ship and takes Shadow with him. Don't worry, even though he literally pierced a ship in the middle of space, the emergency hatches prevented the Robotniks from being shot out into nothingness, thus initiating a fight in which Shadow knows that Sonic is going through the same pain as him, the pain of losing the closest thing to a family because of others. But the latter refuses to admit that he is the same as him. Although when falling to Earth, Shadow manages to get ahead of Super Sonic and snatches the Chaos Emeralds from him, which surprised me because... fuck, it's Super Sonic and the other one doesn't have the super phase activated, so I was very surprised that Sonic didn't Ultra defeat Shadow. Instead, Shadow gave him a fairly even fight without being in Super Shadow mode. I won't take the power scaling of Sonic movies too seriously. The two managed to turn into their respective super forms and fight around the world. Eggman realizes his grandfather is going to destroy the planet, so he decides to confront him, although it won't be easy. Meanwhile, Sonic sends Shadow literally to the fucking moon and is about to annihilate him just like in the game, dude. But to his surprise, Shadow wants Sonic to finish the job. He wants that revenge to corrupt him to prove that they are both the same, but Sonic at that very moment realizes that he can't and doesn't want to do that, which surprises Shadow as he doesn't understand how he could leave that pain behind, how he could simply overcome it, until Sonic confesses that he also lost someone before coming to this world, and that while that pain will never go away, it's the love he feels for other people that should prevail in the heart, and that's what one should focus on. Shadow will never forget Maria, but he could only think about how she was taken from him and the pain he felt when he lost her, completely ignoring those moments when he could be by her side, those moments when she showed him that he was more than just a weapon. From his vantage point on the moon, Shadow had a perfect view of Earth and the stars, recalling Maria's words as he gazed out at the cosmos. The light of a star keeps shining even though she is no longer there. Realizing his actions were driven by anger and a desire for revenge, he now resolves to assist Sonic. To stop Robotnik. This is how these two bastards shake hands, transform, and head to the ship to the rhythm of the damn live song. And learn. What a damn great song. The bastards did it. They put the Sonic and Shadow song. Now look, Geralt spanking Eggman. Perhaps if Eggman had been disciplined as a child, he wouldn't be so foolish, just as it appears Eggman will perish in the vacuum of space. He remembers that Tails and Knuckles also don't want the Earth to be destroyed. So they help him get up and the grandson sends his grandfather flying. Where to? The energy reactor disintegrates the old man in a second, despite his importance. The scene's context was powerful, and his sudden death is surprising yet darkly humorous. With the main villain defeated, things are still not resolved. The giant laser threatens to destroy the planet. But luckily, Eggman, Knuckles, and Tails manage to divert the laser while Shadow and Sonic temporarily stop it. And I must say, damn, they are powerful. After watching Dragon Ball Daima, I believe Shadow and Sonic could defeat the Dragon Ball Z universe, which is really impressive. Now the problem is that, well, the base is about to explode and turn the Earth's atmosphere into radioactivity. With Sonic exhausted from trying to stop the laser, only Shadow has the power to move the base far enough away. He removes his limiting shackles and begins to move the ship while Eggman contains the reactor's energy as much as he can. Both Shadow and Eggman know they are going to die, but they also know they have to do the right thing. They have to do this. Before leaving, they send a message to everyone, but more specifically to his faithful servant Stone, admitting that he was the only one he could genuinely call a friend, saying goodbye with a final phrase. If I can't rule the world, at least I can save it, thus obtaining a last-minute redemption, our beloved Dr. Eggman being a character who has won the affection of both friends and strangers. Both the Doctor and Shadow die saving the planet, doing the right thing, while Sonic and his team managed to land safely on Earth. The moment was beautiful, but it's rarely mentioned that Tails' attempt to save Sonic nearly cost both of their deaths. Thankfully, Knuckles was there as part of the Sonic team. In the end, Stone is left completely alone while Sonic and his family can enjoy their peace again. The movie inevitably ends with a race between the three speedsters. Don't miss the post-credits scene, a welcome return to form. I missed the scenes after the animated credits. They looked all nice and lasted about a minute, because I really hated when there were post-credit scenes after those credits with a black background and white letters that lasted like 10 minutes, and you had to stay hard in the cinema room looking at the screen like a fool. while you watched other people leave the room and they looked at you with a face of, I got a movie out, dude, full. This movie also has an interesting post-credits scene. The first post contains intriguing information. Sonic arrived in New York at high speed. Second, multiple mass-produced Metal Sonics appear similar to the Metal Coolers, although I don't recall any game featuring more than one simultaneously. Third, and more crucially, the final cameo of this third movie is none other than Amy, the little pink one. We'll see which Amy they adapt though, the toxic simp from the early games or the current independent and feminist woman. I hope the jokes about Amy asking Sonic to be her boyfriend every 10 minutes are kept to a minimum. It would be a bit weird. But regardless of everything, with this it's obvious that there will be a fourth movie. But Bilse, how is it possible that there's a fourth movie if Eggman is dead? The same thing occurred in the second movie. In the second post-credit scene, Shadow is revealed to be alive, unsurprisingly. With his teleportation powers, he may have saved Eggman. Jim Carrey also expressed his willingness to return, so anything is possible. But anyway, it's most likely that for this supposed fourth movie, the antagonist will surely be that white hedgehog with telekinesis powers from one of the best, worst Sonic video games. Although seeing the Metal Sonic, the fourth movie will surely be an adaptation of Sonic Heroes with the Metal Overlord and those weird things. Thanks for the information, Google. I don't know what I would do without you. It even seems like I understand Sonic and everything, which will surely imply that they adapt Roach finally, and I don't know what scares me more. If the perverts wanting to see the bat with boobs or the anti-progressives crying when they surely tone her down a bit. In summary, everyone's stupid except me. We'll see when that happens. What to say about this movie? It's a marvel of entertainment. It's definitely the best of the Sonic trilogy, and I think it enters the ranking of the best video game adaptations. It has plenty of fan service and references, but most importantly, it has the key elements essential for this genre of movies. And no matter how many references or fan service it may have, it's a movie that's perfectly understandable and enjoyable for anyone who is not a consumer of the original material. I myself serve as an example, a person who has never touched a damn Sonic game in his life, nor that really cool anime series. That was there, can sit down and enjoy these movies like anyone else, and that's a very good thing. It denotes good adaptation work. It's a good movie, even without seeing the prequels, but I recommend watching them. What more can be said about the soundtrack that hasn't already been mentioned? The composer conveyed intensity in both the original music and game remixes, unsurprisingly as he also worked on the dark, epic Batman v Superman soundtrack. However, the inclusion of just a few chords from Escape from the City during Sonic's London run, credited as if it were the full song, was questionable. Don't fuck with me. Anyway, what can I say? An excellent movie with minimal human participation, which works well. Jim Carrey delivers a fantastic dual performance. The film effectively adapts the source material, emphasizing Maria's illness, and Shadow's role in finding a cure could have enhanced the story, but overall, it's a strong movie. It's okay, it's acceptable. That if it doesn't happen, the typical thing that they saturate you with information, the movie, although for all audiences, can be counterproductive. The origin story of Shadow is more suited for kids. Black Doom and the Black Arms should not be included in another Sonic series. It's better to adapt the Shadow game instead. From Play 2, my only complaint about telling that story is that Jim Carrey is sometimes too good. The main villain's performance overshadows the others. But if that's the biggest criticism, it's that the actor is too good in the role. In fact, the two main villains are fine. To conclude, never forget you are Shadow. Shadow.
Shadow this big,